Hello, dudes, and welcome to week 2, an accelerated self-empowerment program. I'm going to share with you a really cool mantra from my magic class right now, and it is, first you balance all of the 4 elements in you. So at the base, there's a circle, and it is earth. At the center is a square. The bottom half of the square is water. The top half of the square is air. Balance those. And then at the top is fire, which is a triangle. You can envision the shapes as you work your way from below up to the top and balancing those elements. And then at the end you can say, "It is by will alone that I set my mind in motion." And it's a protection mantra that you can just keep when you feel yourself shifting from one direction to the other. You can say it and it helps shift you back. So that's what today's little seed is all about. Today might be a long one, so please prepare. So now let's get into this because it's going to be some hard work. Fun, also, yes, but hard work. So we're going to go pretty deep, pretty quickly. So that's why this video might be a little longer this time. But in general, we'll do kind of some small seeds. So this is going to be a very foundational lesson. So please, you can also pause and take notes. You will also have gotten a picture of this. And you might want to take that out and look at it when we get to that section, but you won't need it quite yet. So, great. So I'll get started. My job here is not to not have shit. I've got a lot of shit, and my job here is to hold space for your shit. And because the magic is really in the shit. And when I start to feel unmagical, it's really because I stopped looking at my shit. And we all have shit, and it's actually when we don't look at the shit that it starts to stink like shit. And so this whole process is looking at our shit so that we can sit with it and hold it and move through it so that it doesn't stink anymore and stops affecting us in our daily lives, because that's when things really, really turn into magic. And so ultimately, this program is about connection. And how you connect with other people is often how you connect with yourself. That's a big one. Just think about that. How you connect with other people is a reflection of how you're connecting with yourself. So the work we're doing is really connecting with ourselves. So how we get our superpowers is, unfortunately, because we experience trauma, but that's how it works. So typically you have a small child that is either neglected or abused. And that's frequently where you get your superpowers, because you split. And here you split and you have the God self and the anti-self. And the God self has this like ever-knowing, super confidence, ability to understand needs and get them met. And the anti-self is the one that comes in and is like, I don't need love. I don't need help. I'm fine. I'm fine. And yeah, so ultimately our goal is to get these two to work together in flow and harmony so that they are taking care of our child self. And so in this program, we're going to specifically work on the strengthening the connection between the God and Goddess self and the actual self. So how you strengthen that connection is by getting real clear with yourself, why you are doing things or why you are not doing things. So there's something called an anxious attachment and avoidant attachment. There's also a chaotic attachment, which I don't know much about yet. But if you want to look more into all these concepts, I highly encourage that. So the attachment that is a healthy attachment that we're going for, it all boils down to how you attach with your parents when you were a child. And it's usually developed at that point and also connected to the core trauma with your parents. So a healthy attachment for a child looks like the parent comes in and the child is playing with a toy, and the child and parent notice each other, go say hello, maybe a hug or whatever would normally happen with a regular functioning family. And so then the child would go back to his or her toys and continue playing, and the parent would do whatever they needed to do as a parent, cook dinner maybe. So that is how a healthy attachment would look like. So for an avoidant attachment, what it looks like is the parent comes into the room, comes home, and the child notices the parent came home, wants attention from the parent, but is still like sitting there playing alone, hoping that the parent will come pay attention to them. And that's an avoidant attachment, because the need is for attention and affection, but they're avoiding getting their needs met. So that's avoidant. So anxious attachment is when a parent enters the room / gets home, the child is playing, throws away, drops everything that they were doing, and goes to the parent and latches onto them. And when they latch onto them, they don't want to let them go. They don't care about their toys anymore. They're just so that's an anxious attachment. And so if you can look at these, these are examples for when we're a kid, but they ripple out into our adult lives in these micro ways, sometimes not so micro ways, and these patterns that we have. And contrary to popular psychology belief, attachments are not a style. Again, attachments are not a style. Attachments, avoidant and anxious, are symptoms of a ghost, which you probably know all about right now because most of you have had your extraction and soul retrieval. And so these feel differently than your true self and your true being. And so what happens is this whole process is about internal validation. And when we go internal, the place where we're at as humans is we're going internal for this internal validation and then expanding outward. And it's really about figuring out when you're off the track of not going inward. And so here's all my bullshit. And I'm going to share this with you because I think it's important for you to understand. So this has been the last 2.5 to 3 years of my work, and just trying to get this as simply as possible and getting it in this kind of diagram. And it's come piece by piece. So I'm sharing this with you so you can see where the clarity can get to. So right now, what it's probably feeling like or could be feeling like is all over here and like this. And so it, piece by piece, can become clear or more clear. And when it's clear, it doesn't mean that we're perfect. It just means that we are able to notice when we're out of alignment and able to notice when the ghosts are acting up. And so in psychology, this is called triggers. So the ghosts and the anxious and avoidant attachment are a product of trauma when you are reminded of a previous situation where you were not safe. And like I said, in psychology, this is called a trigger. It is our job as a human with free will to realize when we are triggered, aka in fight or flight mode, or freeze is another one. Might be connected to anxious attachment. I don't know. Or not with the chaotic attachment. I haven't examined my own freeze yet, so just started with fight and flight. So it's our job as humans with free will to sit and feel out when we're triggered. And when we notice that we're triggered, it's our job to sit and realize, think about, am I actually safe in this moment? Or am I not safe in this moment? And how can I get my needs met? And so it's our job to respond instead of react. And the reactions are ghosts. And when you respond to other people's ghosts, it also creates a false reality. So another responsibility that we have in this work is noticing when other people are out of alignment and in fight or flight. And sometimes it will happen at the same time, because what happens is you have the avoidant attachment and anxious attachment, and they're ghosts that play off of each other. So the anxious attachment will push away the avoidant attachment, and the avoidant attachment pulling away, so it's literally just ghosts doing this. And it's not love, it's codependency. And that's what we're working on in this whole fucking program, is just understanding who and what we are as an energetic blob, and how to better blob around so that we can do some magic. Yeah. So in psychology, they call it codependency. And I don't really like that word. I like the disharmonic system. So it is it's when disharmony is happening. And so we'll get way more into that later, so don't worry about that. So, so when you're, I'll also call it in alignment, out of alignment for personal self, right? And then when there's more people, I'm going to call it disharmonic system and harmonic system. But for personal self, we have alignment, which is I love myself. And it's all about like internal validation and controlling myself and realizing that I am enough. Thinking about what my needs are, how I can identify my needs, and how I can get them met. And that is what being in alignment and loving myself means. And so when I'm not in those states, where I'm at is I'm either in fight or flight. And I'm going to share with you how I've So you can see how I've taken all this chaos and simplified it into some key things, putting them in this order. And you won't need to do this anytime soon. This is going to be maybe like your final goal of something that you'll have after the end of this program, but definitely not something that you need right now. So share it with you. I'm totally aware that you can't read it, so it's fine. You don't need to, you just listen to what I'm saying. So, okay. So for me, my parents were very toxic, and I grew up in kind of a war zone. And it was not quite physical, but would borderline on that sometimes. And where, but there was a lot of like control and manipulation and psychological abuse. And so my dad is a narcissistic alcoholic, and he would verbally abuse and control my mom, who is a I believe she also has PMDD like I do, and she also is a hoarder, and she was very depressed while I was growing up. So what happened is I would hear my mom crying at night. I would hear them fighting, see them fighting, all sorts of things. Yeah, in addition to other stupid shit. So um, as a result, and this is just something I just realized like within the last year, is like maybe within the last 6 months. Yeah, last November, I like finally realized, fuck, like I was afraid of my mom dying. And it was a very real fear for me that I was going to wake up without a mother. And maybe my dad would kill her, or maybe she would kill herself. But for me, that was like a pretty strong fear. And, you know, I was pretty tough, and like, I'm doing great now, you know, but now I've looked at like, oh shit, that's really been affecting me in ways that I don't want to affect me. And so I've been getting really conscious of looking at this. Mom's side, fear of abandonment, and how I run away because I'm afraid people are going to die. So I run away from people I like. I run away from people I think are cool. I run away from anyone who seems like a great potential partner. And that's the kind of stuff that I do. I also have this horrible fight area with, if you heard that noise, it's dinner time for the cat. I have this fight, fight, that comes from the control and oppression from my dad, and how he really needed to control us and control the environment because of his own trauma. And so this really gave me a fear of control, of being controlled by others, and a fear of loss of self-control, because my dad would try to control us and also didn't have a lot of self-control. And so these are the behaviors and stuff I would learn from parents. So with dad, what's interesting here though is, because of the trauma with my dad, I developed an anxious attachment. But the anxious attachment was actually with my mom, and the avoidant attachment was actually with my dad. So it's like interesting how it's not always linear, is what I'm trying to get at. So I've identified some key symptoms for when I am in fight or flight. And so we'll start with fight. So for me, flight and anger is all about getting permission to do something, permission to be myself. And so the symptoms are, I try to fix or control others so that I can feel like I'm in control. And how I've shifted that is when I notice that thought pattern or that feeling, I have started to ask myself, what can I control within myself or my situation? What can I control? And that really brings the power back to me, actually, because I can't control other people. So, go figure. So, some other symptoms: afraid others will yell at me for doing things my way, or will tell me I can't do things my way. My dad used to stand over me while I was getting ready for bed and yell at me for not doing it properly. So that's where that comes from. And also trying to do what I think others want me to do, which also comes from trying to please my dad, because I am trying to figure out how to not get yelled at. And now I'm an adult and I'm safe. And so how I've reframed that is when I feel those obsessive thoughts, which are ghosts, because they're it's a false reality. I'm not actually being yelled at by my dad right now. So therefore it's a false reality and it's a ghost. So the question I ask myself in those situations is, what would this look like if I did what I want to do? What if I just did what I wanted to do? And then this question kind of flips me back into center alignment, right? I can do what I want to do. I don't need to please anyone else. Oh, feeling better even saying this. Okay, so now we have flight. So for me, flight is all about, it's really wrapped up in all this like cool and external validation of like being cool, and am I cool enough, and I'm not cool enough, or they're cooler than me or whatever. And so my symptoms for flight are frequently comparing myself to others, not feeling good enough or acting as if others are not good enough, and afraid or wondering if others will like the things that I do. It's all like, am I good enough? And like feeling not good enough. In this like comparison between where I'm at and other people are at. And so how I reframe that is, do I like me? Are my actions aligned with my values? Because really I find that when I am comparing myself to other people, it's because my actions aren't aligned with my values. And like, if I'm comparing myself like something someone else is doing, typically it's because I am holding back from doing that myself. And so I find that the more that I let myself do things, the more that I can stay in alignment and start loving myself. So next sentence, worried others won't like me. So how I reframe that is, do I like them? Am I spending time with people I like? So if I'm starting to worry that someone else doesn't like me, I'll think, do I like them? Because it doesn't matter if they fucking like me at all. At all. I don't care if you guys like me, but I like you. And so that's why you're in this program, is because I really like you. And so when I get into my head about like, are they gonna like me on the video? Da, 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 it really doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that I like me on the video and what I'm saying. And the more that I'm aligned with that, the more you'll naturally like or not like me. And if you don't like me when I'm being authentic, that's great. You can move along because we don't resonate. But the more I resonate as myself and my true self, then the more I'm going to bring in those people who do resonate with me. And so it's more about resonation when we're loving ourselves than the reactions and liking and all this other stuff, judgments. So the last one, oh, okay, real quick. I want to say that a lot of this stuff I know is, I'm not really saying new stuff to you. The only thing new is really just how it's organized. And I know a lot of these concepts and these things probably been mulling over into your head, which is why you're in this program. And so I'm not trying to show you anything super new. It's just like the organization of how it can be a resource for us. So last, I've got desire to hold tighter so people don't leave. Yeah, that's a big one. So that's really one thing that I do, and I've got a reframe of I allow what wants to stay to stay. And there's another part of that, which is I allow what wants to leave to leave. And I'm expanding on a quote from Tosha Silver. And this is, I'm not quite ready to, accepting what wants to leave has been somewhere that I'm working towards. So I'm not quite there yet. It's not quite on the paper yet. So, yeah. So I know that's a lot for the moment. So just kind of take that in. So the reason I showed you that is to really be vulnerable with my shit. And my shit's going to come up in this program and in this process. And I've designed it to do that. And your shit is going to come up in this process. And I've designed that to happen also. And so really, when we're triggered, it's a very special time that we have to go inside and do the healing work. And so just when you get triggered throughout this process, really like feel it out and think into it. You have to be seeing a therapist to do this deep work. I saw a therapist regularly while I was uncovering and exploring all of these attachments and triggers, ghosts, entities, and demons. My therapist was my tether to the real world, and I saw her every 2 weeks. That's twice a month. You need a breath of fresh air between all the heaviness of diving deep, and that's your therapist. If your therapy appointments don't feel like fresh air, you need a new therapist. Find one that actually works for you. Don't waste your time sharing to a wall that can't meet you where you are. You need a breath of fresh air between all the heaviness of diving deep. I'm really open to having conversations and really open to dialogue and really honest about what shit is my shit and really open to also holding space for your shit. So with that, what happens when we're all shitting all over the place is that it's called projection. And so there is positive projection and negative projection. And positive projection in psychology is called transference. And this is the thing that happens when a patient falls in love with the nurse or a doctor. And what this is, or how it could look like here, and for positive projection and transference is, and you'll see how these kind of link back to the attachment things, is that you could be putting Christy on a pedestal. So like, I got a lot of fucking shit. I don't really need to be on a pedestal. So the pedestal is like looking at all the positive things without all the bullshit, right? And really we're like these dynamic humans. So what it could look like if Christy was on a pedestal is it could look like feeling like, oh my God, she's so cool or whatever, or like whatever obsessive thoughts you have. And in that situation, I invite you to go within and really think about how I'm showing up and what you like about how I'm showing up. Like, what's resonating with you about how I'm showing up, and journal about that. And another way transference can happen in an environment like this is if you're single or with a partner, it's really easy to be, because we're in this like safe container, and one of the things I'm really good at is connecting with people in an intimate way. Um, and it's possible that you could feel connected with me in a way that you don't normally feel connected with other people. And so if something comes up where you start to feel like, oh, I really like Christy in this romantic way, or like you start comparing me to your partner, if any of those things happen or come up, which is natural, don't avoid the shit, because if you do, it's going to start smelling real bad real quick. And I don't want to be in any of it. Okay. So, what it looks like if that stuff comes up is it's a sign that you're showing up with me in a vulnerable way that you're not able to show up with your partner or with other women. So, in that situation, I invite you to really go within and look at how you're showing up with me. How are you showing up in our conversations? How are you showing up in, I don't know. Because basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm like as far right on the like crazy hot matrix that I'm a dude. And so, like, one of the reasons if you're male and connecting with me easily is because I'm really fucking crazy and hot and a fucking dude. So, um, it can kind of bring down your defenses a little. And those will also come up when could come up when you're around people that you really like. So, really kind of sit with these things and feel them out on a personal level. Then the second way we can have projections is negative projection. And this is when we turn into kids and everyone else turns into our parents. And so this frequently happens in situations where there is like a hierarchy, or like adults, or like teachers. And so one of my things really that you might have noticed is to hold space as a peer. And one of the reasons is to kind of remove, just because we're all fucking equal. And really, like, this whole process is about figuring and navigating all this stuff out. So anyway, with negative projection, what it can look like is, for me, when I'm projecting on people, if they turn into my mom, I will get an anxious attachment and I will latch onto them because I'm afraid that they're going to die. And I have a difficult time when people pull away. Yeah, anyway, so you could turn into my mom, and then I would just be like, don't leave. So that's one way of me projecting my bullshit onto you. And another way is if you turn into my dad and I feel like I'm being controlled or something like that, then like my avoidant attachment might come up and be like, run away from you. So also it's very real for people when they're triggered to the stories start coming out. And what we're doing here is we're letting go of the stories that the ghosts say in the moment in false reality. And We'll get more into that later. It's more important now. Okay. So anyway, I have set up this freaking program super intentionally, and everything happens for a reason, and everything is set up for a reason. And so there's a purpose behind everything. And so I invite you to, when things happen, to like think into why is this happening. Also, when things happen with other people, it is often because there's a reason. And sometimes it might not look like our own reasons. So don't put meaning to other people's actions or behavior, and just kind of be more curious and inquisitive into what's going on and why someone might be behaving in a way. Because frequently it's a ghost, and we don't want to react to ghosts and create a false reality. So this whole thing we're going to do is moving away from false reality, and I'll show you why. Da-da-da-da-da! Yay! So you'll have gotten a picture of this so you can look at it more closely. I'm just gonna hold it here and point at stuff. Yeah, so this is the like thing I'm most excited to share with you. These are essentially the downloads I've gotten in the last 3 years, all of them, and they're all in this fucking book. And how they work together too, and it's like all in this book, The Prism of Lyra, Earth's Galactic History. And so there's a lot of stuff that people are remembering and like that just feels right. And this is really the ascension process. So what's happening is that we are turning into more light, and we're able to see more light. So the light spectrum is changing, and we're vibrating faster, like just energy is vibrating faster so we can see it, which is what's going on here. So yeah, so I'm gonna go over the different densities. So density is another word for dimension, and it's actually the more like true word for dimension. So a dimension is not something like this. This is actually the second dimension. So in the first dimension, you have awareness as a point, and you have physical matter. And the core elements of physical matter are actually light, water, and love. That's the download that I've gotten. Light, water, and love, the three basic core elements that make up molecules. Okay, and this is the level, that point, that is where that core trauma is and where those ghosts are attached to. And these are the places, and those are the dark places that we go to and go shake up the stuff on a molecular level. So then we have 2D, which 2D is this world, the physical world. So not this world, but it's physical matter. So biological matter. So physical matter and biological matter. Anyway, so this is awareness as a line, right? So here there's 2 points in the line, and we have 2 things here. We have fight and flight, and we have what is and what is not. So this also makes up of the golden ratio, and it also is what binary is, you know, ones and zeros to make computer, blah, blah, blah. So this is all in the second density. That's where second density matter is. And then we have the third density. And so in the third density, there is volumetric awareness. And so this is the seeds of life. And so this is where we realize that what's best for me is actually best for everyone else. And this is emotional matter. This is the emotional plane. So in that you have this, that, and this and that. And so I want to share with you that one of the resistance in the way that we get stuck with the ghosts is by putting the rules of 2D, which is this or that, onto the emotional world. And so it gets confusing for people because in this world, in this density, two opposing things cannot simultaneously exist. And here, they can. And not only do they exist, they make something different, which is called synergy, when 1 plus 1 equals something greater than 2. So the difference between the second density and the third density, this is actually something I learned about in my first master's in organizational management. Yes, management. It's basically spirituality with business terms, but it's business. It's like real life stuff. This is probably more of the like Reiki and all that kind of stuff, but this is like where a lot of people are, is this confusion of having these different rules and thinking that everything works in the this or that. And really, it's more complex. So that's how the third density works. And okay, then we have the 4D. So 4D is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Actually, it's 42, which is time. So 4D is time. And this is the Rainbow Bridge. This is like a place that's frequently talked about, like an actual place talked about in like what you go through in ayahuasca journeys. You're like literally in this like space portal thing, and then you end up like in all these other places. So it's a containment of volumetric awareness. And so here it's the frequency of responsibility, and past, present, and future are fluid, as are the ability to interface with multidimensional and multi-density realities. So this is the work that we are doing totally sober without ayahuasca. This is the stuff that we're doing when we do the mirror soul retrieval. And you might remember that place. And yeah, everything kind of like vibrates way faster. And so, yeah. So then we get to the fifth density, and this is where we realize that we are all one. And so here's the symbol, and signifies that we are all one. It's like the sound and vibration and concept and drawing or whatever of us being all one. So let's do an together. Breathe out, breathe in. And just feel that subtle difference. So, fifth density beings merge with their family of consciousness and begin to remember. So being on 5D is kind of what we're going for here. What we're doing is last year I was able to pretty solidly be on 5D for most of the year. It was a little isolating at times, but sometimes it was like really awesome and in the flow. And so so that's what we're doing. And the merging with the family consciousness, that is the like you start to remember back to the God density. So It's where sentient consciousness and not bound by linear time. Then we have the sixth density dimension, blah, 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 which is awareness as the dimension itself. So this is a person inside a Merkaba. And the Merkaba is your spaceship. It is your energetic field. It is also shaped like a toroidal sphere, which is the shape of all of energy. And so this is our spaceship, and getting into that spaceship is what also magical. So here, this is Christ consciousness, the mirror. The whole really realizes that it is the self. And as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so outside, as outside, so within. This is where we're that infinite expansion and contraction of life, the breath of life. So here we have the God and Goddess density, 70. The awareness as the multi-dimensional experience. This is where we really realize that we are all humans having a human experience, or all conscious beings having a human experience. I think that's how you say it. But yeah, so this is the social memory complex and mass consciousness whole. And people in the seventh density, they magnetize those in other frequencies and provide the current for the natural flow toward integration. And that's what we're doing here, is we're connecting with our God or Goddess self so that we can create the flow to help people get here. And I think right now it's really, I think it would be natural to feel possibly behind, or feel a multitude of different things, or feel like, how am I going to get there? What are you talking about? Or like, I want to be there now. I want to be there now. So going too fast is a result of trauma. So we're going to slow down and really sort out these first. Okay. And so either you want to get here and you're not there yet, so slow down, or you're here and you're like, how the fuck am I going to get down here? Well, that's what we're doing. I've got the whole plan and stuff already. So I'm here, holding the rope for you to come up here. And so I'm not going to get stuck in your false realities, and your ghosts can't fool me and they can't trick me. And you probably have realized that by now. So, yeah. So what I want to share, though, is if you're feeling behind, I want to share with you that you're not behind, because there's a whole lot of people who are not in this program, who are not where you're at, who have not come to the realizations, who have not woken up, who can't even fathom the idea of spending money on something that like helps themselves be better. And so they're really stuck in their trauma, and they're probably doing a lot of self-medicating, and they are fighting a lot with other people. And it's very clear that you guys are not there, that place. So my mission from ISIS is really helping people helping people get to 7D, helping them tap into their God or Goddess self. And because like the world needs you, and it's really important for other people to know the way, and like you can help so many other people get to amazing places. And yeah, you're super fucking important, and super fucking magical, and just like beyond these like multi-dimensional places, and you you being in your full magical power is really important for the world and for the world's ascension process, because you know how hard it is just for one person to get here. It's We're doing it on the individual level to help the global level, because what's true for us is true for everyone else. So again, I just want to say thank you for doing the work and for showing up for yourself. And the work really is getting back into the shit of it and looking at all this fucking gross stuff. I've been like feeling super unmagical a little bit lately, and then just like got this download that was like, get fucking back in there, gross stuff that you're avoiding. And it was like, oh yeah, the magic is in looking at the shit. So I am super excited to be here with you guys and to make some real fucking tangible magic, because yeah, it's possible. It only